I've always loved this statement from Emerson. If you want to be a great soul now. And when you think about that, as you think of yourself, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a great soul, or do you see yourself as a soul with the potential for greatness? And it's important for us to look at that, to think about what we're doing when we even engage in a process we call self-improvement. So what are we trying to improve? Where are we focused? And I would think that most of us are focused not on the soul, but on the self-image, on the personality, on the surface aspect that has the interaction with the world. We're trying to make that person feel better and to function better and to have better relationships and to be more prosperous and healthier and happier all the way around. We're trying to improve a level of ourselves that is actually built on the bedrock of the soul. That the soul itself is already great, it's already finished, it's already whole. And we have a very difficult time grasping that. And when you think about the culture that we've grown up in, and I'm not here to criticize it, but just point out the facts, that as a mainstream Christian, I grew up expecting someday the kingdom would come. Someday I would be saved, or I would know I was saved. And that someday, of course, is from that worldview is when I lose my body and I stand at the pearly gates and find my name is on the list of those who are saved, and I'm given admission to that gated community. So it's a future thing. Someday it will happen. And the disciples asked Jesus, when will the kingdom come? It's bred into our consciousness, our very consciousness. Like where we are now is not good, it's not finished, it's not complete, but someday the completeness will come. And the phrase itself, self-improvement, it implies that there's something wrong with us right now. And probably most of us feel that something's wrong with us because we feel something's missing, something's lacking in us. So that's where we're going to go today in terms of, are there ways that we can think of ourselves and think of our life that can help bring us more into this now moment? And I would say that a teaching on the now moment, you're all familiar with Eckhart Tolle, I'm sure. He's kind of revived that whole notion, and I've actually been listening to Eckhart a little bit more often. I went through the whole craze that everybody did at first and then came back to him. And I like a lot of what he says. But what he is saying, it's one of the most practical messages that bring your attention into this now moment, because it's the only place you can ever do anything. This is where your life happens. But I would have to say it's one of the most difficult aspects of the teachings that we talk about, to bring your attention into this now moment. I would imagine everyone here, including myself, I was during the meditation, I was thinking, I wonder if Bev has got the camera thing figured. So I wasn't here. I flashed over to thinking about that, thinking about the future. Will this get videotaped okay? And I wasn't thinking of that in a critical way, just I wasn't present while I was having a meditation on being present. Guilty. Guilty as charged. So you see, it's that easy to do. And when you've got something going on in your life, something that is challenging to you, that's when it's the most difficult. And when it's the most important to pull your attention back to this now moment. And I've talked many times, use the illustration many times of just imagine yourself standing, well, sitting where you are, you're here, and then you look over a couple of seats away or someplace else and you see a there. So if you would get up and go to that there spot, where would you be? You would never be there. You can only be here. You'll be here there. When you get there, you'll be here. That's what I used to drive our kids crazy when we used to go on trips. You know, they'd say, "Are we there yet?" You remember that? And I would say, "We're here. We're always here, and we'll always be here." And they would hate that. Audrey's not here today, so I can talk about that. But that's true. And of course, when we were on I remember several thousand-mile trip one time, and I was wanting to get there also, really bad after a while. But it's usually because we're suffering. We're suffering here, so we want to be there so we don't suffer. We want to be somewhere else. So is there a way to pull our energy and our thoughts into this now moment where we can deal with it in a more positive way? And there is, if we will do it. But it's not easy. You know, that's it's again one of the most practical things, because everybody can do it, but it's not easy to do. Because if you're not in charge of your attention, who is? And when will you become in charge of your attention? That's what we ask ourselves. If I'm not in charge of my attention, who is? And isn't it my attention? Don't I have something to say about it? But we treat life as if we don't, as if we're victims of our own inability to focus our attention. Somebody said, whatever gets your attention gets you. And that's a pretty good statement. There's much about the concept of spiritual guidance that is a mystery to many. We often seek guidance to a place in life, a certain acquisition or a position that will empower us in our quest for fulfillment. What we seek is not a place. What we seek is found in a process. So there's no place that we will arrive and that will be it. You know, that will be the thing that makes us happy. We've all done that enough times, we should know. You know, there's, when I met Beth and realized she was the one that I wanted to marry, which was very quickly, it took about a year for her to get that. But I thought that if I can just marry her, if we can just get on with it, that would be the greatest thing in the world. And it was. And it is, still is. 42 years of it. But it doesn't fundamentally change you. It didn't change me in the sense that if I was unhappily unmarried, then it's possible to be unhappily married. And not that the marriage, there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I don't always like myself. Sometimes I fall into fear. Sometimes I fall into anger. Sometimes I fall into speculation about a future I don't understand. Has nothing to do with being married. It's your life keeps going. So you add something to it, you get married, or you get into a career, or you get you have a financial windfall or whatever, and you find that wherever you go, you're there. The you that you are shows up. And so until that begins to change, until we begin to get sort of a handle on how to handle that aspect of ourselves, we're going to continue to believe that if we get somewhere, you know, we ask God for guidance to get someplace, to resolve something, so we can be on the other side of this problem. And we want that. I'm not saying that we don't want that. We do want it. But that's not where we become enlightened. That's not the place we will finally find, you know, the somewhere over the rainbow. Have you ever been at the end of a rainbow where you're just kind of engulfed in the colors and stuff. I mean, you can't ever actually get in it. And that's the thing. Somewhere over the rainbow. Well, where is that? If you follow a rainbow and try to find, that pot of gold at the end, I think that's what the myth is all about, that you'll never find it. It's not there. It's a beautiful thought. The rainbow is a beautiful thing, and wow, there's got to be something there because it's such a... But then science comes in and explains how rainbows work and, destroys the whole, the whole illusion. But it's the same idea that there's some place we can actually get to where we will be happy and we'll be fulfilled. So is that someplace out there someplace? That's what we are looking at. Where is that place? And that place is in this now moment. And it's the place that we occupy probably less than any while we're going through our daily experience. We are not empowered by things and positions. That's something we all have to work with. There are things that I'm glad I have. I would rather have some money than no money. I would rather have a car than no car. I would rather have a house than no house. But do those things make me who I am? Do they make me fulfilled? Do they make me... when you solve, say, the problem of shelter, then you have other problems. And you sit in that shelter and you try to solve them. The problems never really stop, as long as we have a body. There's no place, in other words. You solve one problem and then that frees your mind to think of other problems. That's the work of the imagination. And that's the difference between ourselves and the animal world. Animals don't think of future and past. Our cat was meowing this morning and she had that laser beam look, and there was a Miller flying around in the house. When that happens, the cat has one thing on its mind, and that's get that Miller, get that thing. Every ounce of energy, every bit of attention comes to a single point in that cat's mind. You can just tell, and body. And it's the whole thing is get that insect. The cat doesn't have the ability to think, if I get that insect, I might catch some disease or, I was reading the other day about if you get Miller dust on you, it could cause some memory loss or something like that. The cat doesn't do that. It does not have that ability. We do. And so we create a world that doesn't really exist through our imagination. We're not living in the now. But animals do. The birds of the air, the lilies of the field are in this now moment. As I pointed out many times, you just observe the simplest sparrow and they're in the now moment. They're fully present. All their energy is here. And they're very lively and very much in the present. But you look at your average human being, and most of us are carrying around a past and a future that is sometimes pretty heavy. And, it's baggage that doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't do anything. But we do it because we can. We have this imagination. And what if we had been taught from childhood how to focus this powerful tool that we have, the imagination? In some ways we are. We're introduced to a study of something or other that captures our imagination. It captures our interest. But we're never told that, you got to watch, that's a very powerful tool you're using there. It's a very beautiful, wonderful thing. But when you start worrying about something, you're using that tool of imagination to leave the only place where your life can happen. That's this now moment. And rather than empower yourself by thinking you can solve the problem before you get there, it actually saps you of your power, takes away your power. So these, we're not empowered by things and positions. These only stir a portion of the power embodied in our spiritual nature. If you think your power comes from things and positions, then you are, as Jesus suggests, laying up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust consume. In other words, something can upset you still. It doesn't matter what we have, in terms of our acquisitions, that there's something that can always come, and you can get some degree and somebody's always going to have a better degree or have gone to a better college, or you've got a certain amount of money and somebody else has got more, or you made a huge donation and somebody's made twice that. And there's always something that will take the wind out of your sails if that's where you're getting your power from. And we do a lot of times. That's the whole idea of putting on the mask. There's a sense of protection and power. And that's, of course, been debated the whole time whether or not. I met a woman or a man the other day that said his wife got a very serious sinus infection by wearing her mask, and that's, so she thought she was being protected and empowered. And so, what I'm saying is physical things don't necessarily do it. And I'm not saying take it off. I think we're better off leaning toward safety or whatever than not. But is that our treasure on earth where moth and rust can consume, where we can get a sinus infection by something we thought was supposed to protect us? So it's just something that we all look at. It's important to kind of reevaluate things. There's only one place in your life where you will ever find true empowerment, true and lasting satisfaction. That place is here and now. The point of all spiritual guidance is to bring you to this single place. Now that's a pretty interesting thought. When you have a problem and you are asking for guidance, what are you usually asking for? What do I usually ask for? We're asking for the resolution to the problem. We're not thinking so much about empowerment in terms of a now possibility. We're thinking, when my problem is solved, then I will be empowered. But the truth is that solving the problem does not bring more power any closer to you. It simply removes an obstacle that is not allowing you to experience that power. In other words, the power is always there. It's always with you. One of the qualities of God is power. And God is omnipresent, everywhere present equally at the same time. In God we live and move and have our being. In power we live and move and have our being. So if I'm feeling powerless, is that a reality or is that a perception? So it's important then to bring yourself back into this moment and to regain your power even when you have the problem. You're in the world but not of it when you manage to do that. And that's a very powerful place to be. And I would imagine every one of us have done that. We have gone along with the problem, been totally enslaved to it for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden we decided, I'm not going to let this thing keep running over me. I'm not going to keep giving it my power. And you stand up a little bit straighter and you say, I'm going to figure out how to deal with this. And you find your center of power. But your center of power was never lost. Your imagination shot off, and that's how we do it. It goes off in the distance where we can do absolutely nothing about the problem. But the first problem that we are to solve is not the thing that we think needs to be solved. It's our own experience of powerlessness, our feeling of powerlessness. I'm not talking about the kind of powerlessness that recovering addicts may affirm, that I'm powerless to do anything about this the ego is powerless. We're not talking about ego, we're talking about Emerson's, if you're going to be a great soul, be a great soul now. Find your center of power right now. So am I going to let this thing just keep pushing me over and walking all over me, or am I going to find my center of power first, stand up a little straighter so I can actually look down on the problem rather than look up to it, and know that I can deal with it? When you find that center of power, it then enables you to make right decisions. You're not reacting. You become proactive. You're saying, you're not taking my power from me. I'm doing it to myself, and I can give it back to myself. So the thing itself is not, that's what I've said about forgiveness. To forgive somebody is to realize they never had the power to take from you what you thought they did. When you get to that place, you can forgive them because they've done nothing to you. They can't take from you what you thought they did. But as long as you live under that belief that they have the power to hurt me, that's a perception, and it's not a now moment experience. It's one that is looking to the past, and it's one that is defining yourself according to a template you picked up in the past someplace. Somebody can actually hurt me, and somebody has hurt me, and so I'm hurt. And maybe someday I'll be able to forgive them. But if you realize that they cannot take from you what you thought they did, then you can forgive them, because you rise above the level of that level of the relationship. You're never powerless in that regard. You are a great soul now, and that's the lesson that we want to learn. So this chop wood, carry water thing, you've all heard that, I'm sure. The novice says to the master, "What does one do before enlightenment?" "Chop wood, carry water," replies the master. The novice asks, "What then does one do after enlightenment?" "Chop wood, carry water." In other words, your life is not going to change all that much when you wake up, as you wake up. That's the point of the story, I believe. You do the same things in your life. See, we're waiting for the kingdom to come. We're waiting for this earth-shaking thing to happen. Well, what if nothing happens? What if the whole idea is for us to wake up and engage in our life in a way where we're a little bit freer? That's what we're after. We're going to chop wood and we're going to carry water. That's what you do when you have a body. You chop the wood for your warmth and for your food, and the water, of course, sustains your body and helps you wash your clothing and all that stuff. It's normal body stuff. You're going to do that no matter what. So when the kingdom comes, nothing changes outside. You still chop wood and carry water. But you do it from the awareness that you are centered in the power of God at all times. One of the things Eckhart Tolle brought up was this idea of the bumper stickers. I'd rather be sailing, I'd rather be whatever, you've seen them somewhere else other than here. And he just points out that, he said he saw Ram Dass, who wrote the book Be Here Now, had a bumper sticker created, "I'd rather be here now," which was a pretty good affirmation. But think about that. You're driving your car and you get this bumper sticker, "I'd rather be sailing." Well, who wouldn't? You think that. But what you're saying about your life, whatever it is you're doing now, isn't good enough. You'd rather be somewhere else. You'd rather be doing something else. It's an affirmation that actually creates a negative. And it's an unconscious thing. And, I think everybody knows that if you see a bumper sticker on somebody's car, they're a sailor and they enjoy sailing and all that. It's a statement. But to stop criticizing your life and start blessing it. So you're driving your car in traffic. We don't have a whole lot of traffic here, but When you're doing something that you don't particularly care for, watch your thinking. I'll be glad when this is over. I'll be glad when this is done. What you're saying to your life is you're criticizing. You're saying, you are not good enough for me. I want to get out of you as you are right now. And I've suggested if your life was a friend of yours, and you were always saying to this friend of yours what you are saying to your life, like, you're not good enough. We need to fix you. We need to improve you. We need to make you a better thing to be. How long do you think you'd be a friend to that person? You'd be criticizing them all the time. Just think of your life as a friend. What are you saying to your friend, to this friend? I'd rather be sailing. You're okay. It's okay that I'm here in church, but I'd rather be almost anywhere.
You've been watching a talk presented by Reverend Doug Bottorff at Independent Unity here in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. We would like to thank everyone who joined us here today, as well as those of you who joined us online. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to share it with those you think who might benefit from this message. If this brought value to your life, please consider donating to us on PayPal. Thanks again for watching.